While Lara was gasping for air and collapsing onto the banquet hall floor, foam forming at her lips during a full-blown asthma attack, Oliver was in the center of the dance floor, holding his beautiful secretary close, whispering in her ear and laughing like nothing else in the world existed. Later, on the drive home, Lara noticed a diamond ring in the glove compartment. Before she could even ask about it, Oliver snatched it up with a scowl and said coldly, "It's not for you." She didn't argue. Instead, she pointed to the bridal boutique on the corner and said calmly, "Please pull over. That custom wedding dress I ordered, it's time to return it." As soon as she stepped into the boutique, Oliver got out and followed her in. Without warning, he flung a woman's jacket at her face. "Lara, quit your damn habit of leaving your crap everywhere." He was obsessed with cleanliness, never allowing a single trace of her belongings in his car. Lara glanced down at the jacket lying on the floor and replied flatly, "It's not mine." The tension in his face eased. Without a second thought, he picked up the jacket and folded it carefully. Of course, it was Nicole's. Every time Nicole forgot something in his car, it led to a screaming match. But not this time. Lara said nothing. She simply turned to the sales associate and handed over her phone number. The woman smiled warmly. "Perfect timing. Your custom dress and suit are ready for fitting." Before Lara could even object, Oliver, the same man who had just thrown a tantrum, walked straight into the fitting room with that stone-cold look on his face. 10 minutes later, standing in front of him in a white wedding dress, Lara caught Oliver sneering. "Tacky. Cheap-looking," he muttered. She didn't respond. She simply asked the boutique assistant to take a photo of her. The request clearly irritated Oliver. He stepped forward, trying to insert himself into the photo. That's when his phone rang. It was Nicole's custom ringtone. Crying through the speaker, Nicole moaned that she'd lost her favorite jacket and offered her body and eternal love as a reward to whoever returned it. Before the call even ended, Oliver didn't bother changing. He rushed out of the store without saying a word. Lara stood there, listening to the sound of his car fading into the distance. Then, without hesitating, she grabbed a pair of scissors and sliced the dress into pieces. It was 1:30 a.m. when Lara received a WeChat message from Oliver. "I'm drinking." After 8 years together, it was rare for him to voluntarily say where he was. Staring at the rubber gloves on her hands, she didn't reply. She finished taking out the trash, showered, and fell into bed, too exhausted to think. The next morning, as Oliver walked into the house, he found Lara heading out, a bag of trash in her hands. He looked at her strangely. "Phone broken." She shook her head, silent. He frowned, annoyed. He knew exactly why he'd asked. In the past, whenever he stayed out late, she'd flood him with messages and calls until she knew he was safe. But last night, her silence was absolute. Just as he was about to leave, he noticed something. "Where's the photo that was on the wall?" She looked down at the trash bag, about to explain, but his phone vibrated again. Without waiting, he shoved past her and answered with a smirk, "Don't worry, sweetheart. I'll bring it to you as soon as it's ready." Lara stood still, listening to the sound of the shower running upstairs. On her way back up from dumping the trash, she suddenly felt weak from low blood sugar. Cold sweat beaded on her forehead. She grabbed a toast with egg from the table and took a bite. That's when Oliver's voice, laced with contempt, struck like a slap. "Lara, what are you? Starved to death in your past life?" She stared in disbelief as he threw the half-eaten toast and the entire plate into the trash. With her voice low and empty, she asked, "I've cooked for you for 8 years and I can't even take a bite of breakfast when I'm feeling faint." His eyes turned cold as ice. "Didn't anyone ever teach you manners? Taking without asking is stealing." He slipped on his suit and slammed the door on his way out. Facing another round of Oliver's silent cruelty, Lara picked up her phone and opened his WeChat profile. He had changed the background photo Nicole, making a cutesy pose with cat ears on her head. Lara tapped like, then immediately removed him from her pinned chats. At noon, during her lunch break, she went to meet a real estate agent to view an apartment. Just as she stepped into the elevator, She ran into Oliver and Nicole. Nicole's hair was a mess, and Oliver was gently tying it back for her. As soon as Nicole spotted Laura, she placed her hands on her hips and pouted dramatically. "Laura, you're just in time. Look at your Oliver, always tugging my hair like a brat. He's impossible." Before Laura could react, Oliver pinched Nicole's nose playfully. "Little liar, you know what happens to people who lie their noses grow longer." Nicole blushed. It wasn't until then that Oliver finally turned his attention to Laura. What a coincidence. Wanna grab lunch? 5 years working in the same building, different companies, and not once had Oliver ever invited Laura to eat together. Yet every day, Nicole flaunted their meals on social media. Remembering that, Laura smiled and declined politely. "You two go ahead. I've got things to do." Oliver's face darkened, clearly not expecting rejection. But before he could speak, the elevator jolted and the lights went out. Laura turned on her phone's flashlight and saw Oliver hugging Nicole, whispering softly to calm her down. Moments later, the elevator restarted. When they reached the ground floor, Oliver offered to give Laura a ride. But before she could respond, Nicole suddenly collapsed. Instinctively, Oliver shoved Laura aside, scooped Nicole up in his arms, and rushed toward the hospital. Laura stood quietly, picked up her cracked phone from the floor, and took a taxi to view the apartment. That afternoon, Oliver showed up at her desk with a box of desserts. Just 30 minutes before, Nicole had posted on social media, "Love is like tending to flowers. The baby just can't finish them all," with a photo of a table piled high with French pastries. Laura thanked him politely, but didn't open the box. Oliver frowned, clearly puzzled. "Laura, why are you speaking to me so formally?" She didn't answer directly. She simply said, "If there's nothing else, I need to print some documents." When she came back with her resignation letter in hand, Oliver was already gone. He'd left a sticky note saying to find him upstairs once she was done. She tore it up and threw it away along with the box of desserts. Then she walked into her boss's office and submitted her resignation. Her supervisor tried to persuade her to stay, but when she saw how determined Laura was, she finally gave in and accepted the letter. Following protocol, Laura would leave after finishing out the week. That evening, around 10 p.m., while she was out dining with coworkers, Oliver called. One of her colleagues answered by mistake. When Laura took the phone, Oliver's voice was ice cold. "Laura, where are you at this hour?" She calmly replied, "Out. Send me your location." "I'm coming to get you now," he snapped, then hung up. She sent the location and stayed at the restaurant until closing. Oliver never showed up. Later, Laura opened Nicole's WeChat profile and, unsurprisingly, saw that she had posted about being sick and hooked up 2 and 4. Laura took a taxi home alone, washed her face, and went straight to sleep. Around 3 in the morning, Oliver burst into the house, covered in dust and clearly exhausted. He shook her awake roughly, his voice still as cold as ever. "Laura, I'm hungry. Make me a bowl of wontons with Chinese spinach." He hated spinach. And he definitely didn't like wontons. Laura knew exactly who wanted them, Nicole. She tried to pull his hand off her shoulder, but her fingers brushed against the scar on the back of his hand. That scar left from the school auditorium fire. If it hadn't been for Oliver that day, she probably would have died. A life saved in exchange for a bowl of wontons. Maybe she owed him. She got up silently and began to change her clothes. But before she could leave, Oliver grabbed her arm. For the first time, his voice sounded uncertain. "Maybe just make them in the morning?" She interrupted gently. "Besides wontons, would she like anything else?" He paused, then let go. "No." That's it. At dawn, he stood at the door holding the thermos of food. "Laura, I have to travel abroad next week. I cleared my schedule this Saturday. I was thinking of having dinner with your parents, talk about the wedding." Before he could finish, she cut in. "That won't be necessary." He froze. "What do you mean?" She smiled and lied. "They're out of town. Won't be back for a while." He stared at her like he wanted to say more, but his phone rang. Without hesitation, He turned away and closed the door. Friday came her final day at work. As soon as she stepped outside, Oliver forced her into his car. At a fancy restaurant, he sliced her steak and casually asked, "What kind of wine would you like?" Lara, scrolling through her phone disinterestedly, replied, "You choose." Her apathy darkened his expression. "Who are you talking to?" "No one," she said. Yet he still snatched the phone from her hand, scrolling through it for a long time. His face turned unreadable. "When did you change your wallpaper?" For years, the background had been a photo of the two of them. Now it was a picture of her parents' dog. She didn't feel like explaining. She stood up and went to the restroom. When she returned, Oliver was gone. Then the lights in the restaurant dimmed. A waiter rolled out a cart with flowers and a cake, but it stopped at the table next to hers. Moments later, her phone lit up. It was a birthday greeting from her phone carrier. As she stepped outside, she heard a sweet, overly cheerful voice that made her stomach turn. "Wow, Oliver, you're so strong. Push me higher." Nicole sat on a swing outside the restaurant, squealing in excitement as Oliver pushed her again and again. Of course, her constant desire for more caught up to her, and she fell straight into his arms. They locked eyes, wrapped in each other's embrace, as if nothing else in the world existed, until they noticed Lara standing there. Oliver's face twisted in visible irritation. "Lara, this swing is so fun. Don't you want to try?" Before he could finish, Nicole's face flushed. She released her arms from around his neck reluctantly. "Lara, please don't misunderstand. Oliver only caught me, so I wouldn't fall." Oliver ruffled her hair gently, gazing at her with affection. "Silly girl. What's there to explain? What matters is that you're okay." Once she was comforted, the warmth vanished from his eyes. He looked at Lara coldly. "Have you eaten?" She didn't reply. She simply walked toward the nearby Ferris wheel. "They say if you make a wish at the top of the wheel on your birthday, it'll come true." Nicole, watching with mockery in her eyes, quickly tugged on Oliver's arm. "Look, a Ferris wheel. Oliver, I want to ride it." When the attendant said only 2 seats remained, Oliver didn't even glance at Lara. He took Nicole's hand and stepped on with her. 20 minutes later, when they got off, Oliver searched the entire mall for Lara. But she was already gone. At 8 p.m., she walked out of the bedroom with her suitcase in hand. She left a note under the house key. It read, "Break up." She walked away without looking back. At 11 p.m., her phone rang. It was Oliver. She didn't see Itch was sitting with her parents, talking. An hour later, he called again. She turned off the screen, powered down the phone, and went to bed. She slept until noon the next day. When she turned her phone back on, she was surprised to see over 10 missed calls. With a sinking feeling, she opened WeChat. There he was, always cold, always distant, now sending message after message. What does the note and key mean? "Just because I forgot your birthday, you won't answer my calls or texts. Now you're playing hard to get? Is this some kind of joke? Lara, you have 1 hour to come back. If not, don't ever come back." She looked at the timestamp of the last message 3 hours ago. She took a deep breath and, with one swipe, deleted Oliver forever. There was a knock at the door. Her mother entered with a glass of warm milk. "Lara, your stomach's sensitive. Drink it while it's hot." She had come home late the night before unannounced, with a suitcase in hand. But her parents didn't ask a single question. They simply took care of her, like they always had. Clinging to her mother's arm with her nose tingling from the wave of emotions, Lara whispered, "Mom, I found an apartment I really like. It's small, but it's enough. A place where I can hide from the world." Her mother smiled warmly. "Then buy it. How much are you short? I'll cover the rest." Lara smiled and shook her head, saying she had enough money, but her mother still transferred her 200,000 yuan. "A woman only feels truly secure when she owns her own home and has money in the bank," she said. So Lara scheduled the lease signing for the following Monday. That night, her father cooked a feast with all her favorite dishes. He even bought a cream cake to celebrate her birthday 1 day late. As she stood in front of the glowing candles, Laura clasped her hands and made a silent, heartfelt wish. May her parents stay healthy, and may life unfold slowly, gently, and with hope. But not long after blowing out the candles, her phone buzzed with a flood of unexpected messages. All from different people, all saying the same thing. "Oh my God, Laura. Congrats on the wedding. I'm flying back just to attend and bring you a big red envelope. Wishing you and Oliver a lifetime of love and lots of babies." Confused, Laura stared at the screen. Then a WeChat notification popped up. Oliver had sent her a friend request, along with a message. "I just posted our wedding announcement. You got what you wanted. Can we stop with the drama now?" She let out a dry, ironic laugh. Who exactly was making the drama? Her mother had once asked her to share Oliver's WeChat so they could stay in touch, but he had never accepted the request. Back then it hurt. But now, she was grateful. If this circus had reached her mom, it would have given her a massive headache. Laura took a deep breath and responded to each congratulatory message one by one, explaining calmly that she and Oliver had already broken up. Then she posted a story on her profile for the first time in ages, visible to everyone, even strangers. "Don't believe or spread rumors. I'm single. I'm not seeing anyone." Not even 2 minutes later, Oliver called. She didn't answer, but he kept calling over and over until she blocked him. And just like that, the world went quiet again. She lay on the soft sheets, slipped in her earbuds, closed her eyes, and let the music wrap around her like a blanket. Without realizing it, Monday arrived. After enjoying a brunch lovingly prepared by her mother, Laura walked lightly and on time to the real estate office. Just as she and the landlord were about to sign, his phone rang. He answered it, and in seconds, his expression changed to surprise. After a moment's hesitation, he handed her the phone. "Miss, someone says he needs to speak with you." Laura knew Oliver had connections, but she never imagined he'd go this far just to force her to take a call. She stepped into a quiet corner, already exhausted. "Oliver, aren't you tired of this?" Her voice came out cold, sharper than she'd expected. A pause, then his voice came through, deep and serious. "Laura, why are you telling people you're single?" "Because I am," she replied. He gave a sarcastic laugh. "So, you leave a key and a note, and that makes you single again? Laura, please. You're almost 30. Can you grow up a little? We're engaged. We're getting married. We're going to have kids like you always wanted. After all this drama, how do you expect our classmates to attend the wedding without being embarrassed?" She pressed a hand to her forehead, fighting the urge to laugh. "There won't be a wedding." "What's that supposed to mean?" he snapped. "You really want to end this?" She lowered her gaze and replied, calmly and firmly, "Yes. It's over." He didn't say anything right away, but from the background noise, she could tell he was at the airport, about to board. The landlord was watching her nervously, probably wondering if she'd cancel. Just as she was about to hang up, Oliver spoke again, his voice softening. "Laura, I know you're mad I forgot your birthday. I admit was my mistake. But once I come back from Nicole's treatment abroad, I'll make it up to you. I promise." She let him finish. Then she said evenly, "You're wrong. I'm not angry. And I don't need anything from you. Just understand one thing, we're not together anymore." She hung up, handed the phone back to the landlord and added, "If that number calls again, please block it." After completing all the paperwork, she received the property certificate with its bright red cover. Her first home. She took a photo of it, savoring the moment, and headed off to meet a friend. That night, around 10 p.m., after a fun evening, she returned home. Since her dad was resting, she offered to take the family dog out for a walk. But as she opened the glass door of the building, a tall, all too familiar figure stood in her way. Oliver Dusty, exhausted, was waiting. "Laura." She gripped the leash and took a step back, face tight. "Don't come near me." Her coldness seemed to sting him, but he ignored it. With a frown, he moved closer. He opened his mouth to speak, but her dog was already barking wildly, growling, baring its teeth in full attack mode. Still, Oliver acted as if nothing was happening. He kept advancing until Lara was cornered against the wall. Backlit by the hallway light, he stared at her unblinking. "We need to talk. I don't want any misunderstandings between us."
She frowned.
"There's nothing to talk about." He slammed a fist against the wall, boxing her in. "Lara, did you forget we're getting married? You think you can just say we're done, and that's it? What does that make me?" His aggressive tone only made her feel weary. She didn't even want to argue. She tried to push him away once, twice, but he didn't budge. Her dog barked frantically, fiercely guarding her. The noise triggered lights in several apartment windows. Neighbors peeked out. Lara, not wanting to alarm her parents, realized she had no choice but to de-escalate. Half an hour later, they sat in a 24-hour cafe. Oliver was at the counter, ordering 2 Americanos. One of them no sugar, lots of ice placed gently in front of her. "Lara, see? I do remember what you like." She blinked, unable to stop a faint smile from forming. Ever since she was a child, everyone, her parents, friends, family, knew Lara couldn't stand anything bitter. But in Oliver's house, there was only black coffee. Because that's what he liked. The extra ice was just her way of dulling the sharp, acidic bitterness. And now, they hadn't even been apart for 2 full days, yet Oliver suddenly had so much to say. Before she could get a word in, he kept going like he was trying to convince himself. "About your birthday, I owe you an apology. I was swamped with work and mixed up the dates. I thought it was next month. But I'd already bought your gift. Something you'd like." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Elegant.
Polished.
When she didn't react, he pressed his lips together and opened it himself, revealing a pair of dazzling crystal earrings, expensive, refined. 2 years ago, he'd made an empty promise. "Tomorrow I'll get you crystal earrings for formal dinners." Now, after all this time, he was finally delivering. But the problem was she didn't want them anymore. "Lara, aren't you going to try them on?" he asked, eyes full of hope. She paused, then took the earrings. They really were beautiful. But instead of putting them on, she held them in her palm and then tilted her wrist. The earrings slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. The sharp pieces scattered across his tailored pant leg. Only then did she notice his calf bruised, bleeding, covered in bite marks from the dog. She ignored it, looked him dead in the eye, and said flatly, "They're ugly. I don't like them. Anything else? If not, I'm leaving." The untouched coffee cup now overflowed, crushed between his fingers. Oliver, once obsessively clean, didn't even glance at the coffee stains on his sleeve. A vein in his temple pulsed. He gave her a bitter smile. "How long are you going to keep pretending, huh? You threatened Nicole. Told her to resign. And you choose now when she's about to go abroad for heart surgery to dump me? I've let you get away with all your tantrums because of what we had. But now I need to know what you want. You want to get married? Fine. Let's go right now to the registry. First thing in the morning we'll sign." His voice was dark as he grabbed her arm and yanked her closer. But when his eyes met hers, he froze. Because all he saw staring back was pure indifference. Detached. Ice cold. She shook off his hand with disdain. She didn't feel the need to defend herself or explain whatever nonsense Nicole had told him. She simply spoke each word with calm finality. "Oliver, I'll say it one last time. We're over. So relax. I'm not marrying you. And I don't want anything you're imagining. If we ever run into each other at an alumni reunion, pretend we've never met. Don't even bother saying hello. No screaming. No tears. Just silence." She stood up calmly, walked to the counter, and ordered 3 lattice extra sugar, all to go. And in that moment, for the first time, she saw something different in Oliver's eyes. Real fear. Raw panic. He bolted from the cafe, lips pale, and called out, "Lara, I was your first love." She turned to him with perfect serenity. "So, you were the one who blushed when you confessed your feelings. You were the one who said you'd never loved anyone so much. On graduation day, we promised no matter what, we'd always be together. So his voice cracked, trembling. So, you can't just call it quits because you're a little emotionally tired. That's not fair to me. Laura let out a short laugh. Did you really believe all those teenage fairy tales? How can you, he started, but didn't let her finish. His face twisted with rage. He stormed into the elevator, grabbed her wrist, and dragged her outside. Grinding his teeth, he muttered, "Fine.
You win.
Ask for anything. Anything at all. Just stop torturing me with this damn silence." Laura stared at him in disbelief. "Torturing you with silence?" she repeated. "Oliver, do you even understand words anymore? How many times do I have to say it for you to leave me alone?"
We are
Over. But he acted like he hadn't heard a single word. He gripped her tighter and pulled her toward his silver car parked nearby. And that's when Paul appeared. Calm and firm, he stepped between them, grabbing Lara's other arm. "She doesn't want to go with you," he said coldly. Seeing Lara lean into Paul's direction, Oliver's jaw tightened like a blade. With icy sarcasm, he snapped, "You know Lara and I are engaged, right? She agreed to marry me. In a few days, she'll be my wife. Who the hell are you to interfere between a husband and his wife?" Paul held Lara's hand gently, sadness flickering in his eyes. But before he could speak, Lara's patience burned away, smiled coldly. "Paul is my boyfriend, which means my business is his business. You, on the other hand, are just a pathetic ex who doesn't know when to let go. What right do you have to bark at the man I love?" As soon as she finished, Nicole emerged from Oliver's car, dressed in a hospital gown. She leaned weakly on Oliver's shoulder, playing the part of the fragile martyr. Her voice was soft, trembling, but each word dripped poison. "Lara, people just saw you flirting with this man at the front desk. And now you're breaking Oliver's heart? Have you no shame, sister? Not even 2 months since your breakup and you're already throwing yourself at someone else? God, how can you be this desperate?"
desperate.
Lara echoed without flinching. She gave Nicole a gentle smile. Then she turned to Oliver. "You're lucky. Nicole really looks out for you. Honestly, you two make a perfect couple. I sincerely wish you a life full of love and loyalty." Her tone was so calm, so devoid of emotion, it made Oliver's face darken. Nicole, on the other hand, smiled triumphantly. She opened her mouth to strike again until Oliver turned. He looked at Lara holding Paul's hand, and suddenly it was like he woke up from a nightmare. Without warning, he shoved Nicole aside. Nicole scraped her knee on the rough pavement and stared in disbelief as Oliver rushed toward Lara, speaking with an urgency she'd never heard from him before. "Lara, there's nothing going on between Nicole and me, I swear. She was in my car because she fainted near the office. I had no choice but to take her to the hospital." Lara actually found it funny. "Why should I care?" she replied, not even a hint of anger in her voice. Oliver, relieved by her calmness, let out a breath. "I just want you to know you've always been the only one in my heart." As he reached out, trying to touch her face, Paul immediately pulled her into his arms. His expression was serious, his voice cold. "Lara is my girlfriend now. Please respect that." Before Lara could even thank him with a glance, Oliver grabbed Paul's collar and punched him hard. Paul could have dodged, but he didn't, because Lara was in his arms. He took the full force of the hit. The slap that followed cracked through the silence. Lara had slapped Oliver across the face. He froze, his fists still clenched, his head turned from the impact. Slowly, he turned back toward her, eyes unfocused. "Lara, are you insane?" he stammered, as if needing confirmation. In his mind, the only way to explain it was that she'd lost her mind. How else could the woman who had loved him for 8 years suddenly raise a hand to him for another man, no less? But then, as he looked up, he saw her take Paul's hand, interlocking their fingers, gently asking if he was hurt, if they should go to the hospital. Oliver couldn't speak. His eyes turned red. He couldn't believe it, like his world had crumbled in front of him. Still clinging to denial, Nicole rose from the ground. No longer bothering to hide the jealousy in her eyes, she pointed at Laura, screaming, "You shameless whore. Oliver just wanted to marry you, and you've already been screwing this guy behind his back." In the past, when Nicole slandered Laura behind closed doors, she endured it for many reasons. But now, to call Paul a fling to his face? To insult him like that? Laura let out a cold laugh. She yanked off her right heel and strode toward Nicole, eyes blazing. In a matter of seconds, she did something that left everyone frozen. Smack, smack, smack. She slapped Nicole across the face with the dirty sole of her high heel. Nicole's eyes widened in shock as she tried to crawl away, but Laura had already grabbed her by the hair. With just a few blows, Nicole's lips were swollen, her face bruised. She screamed and cried, her body curling in pain, pleading with her eyes for Oliver to step in, to stop this. But he didn't move. He just stood there, watching her scream and sob, utterly alone. When Laura finally let her go like trash, Oliver didn't help her up. No, ran to Laura, picked up her shoe with trembling hands, and knelt before her, trying to slip it back on. "Laura, please don't be mad. I know you're not the kind of woman Nicole says you are. Now I understand. Everything that happened between us was because of her. I swear I'll fire her. I won't feel sorry for her again. So don't leave me, okay? I know I was wrong." Laura looked at Nicole humiliated, pale, trembling, and then took off her other heel and flung it directly at her face. "Even if you fire 100 nickels, it doesn't change the fact that we're done," she said, turning to leave. But before she could walk away, she felt a tug on her skirt. Oliver's trembling hand held onto the fabric. In all the years she'd known him, she had never seen him like this, lost, broken. "Don't go," he whispered. "Please tell me. What did I do wrong? Why are you so cruel? Is it because of him? I can't believe you'd treat me like this, Laura." She looked at him with pure contempt. "Let go." He shook his head, voice rough, cracking. "Laura, look at me. Look into my eyes and tell metal me you don't love me anymore. That you love Paul. Unless I hear you say it, I won't believe you want to leave me."
So she did.
She turned, looked straight into his desperate, tear-filled eyes, and said, word by word, "Oliver, I don't love you anymore. And no matter who I love in the future, it won't be you. Do you understand now?" His knees buckled. He collapsed in front of her, no dignity left. He forced a smile, lips trembling, more tragic than crying. "It's okay, Laura. As long as I love you, it's enough. You don't have to love me back. Just don't leave me. I'll do anything, even kill, just don't leave me." Her voice was ice. "I don't need that kind of love. And if you harass me again, I'll call the police." Oliver blinked, and then the tears he'd been holding back finally fell, streaming uncontrollably. "Don't treat me like this," he begged. "I know I didn't treasure your love. I know I ignored everything you did for me. Just give me one last chance. I swear, you'll see how much I've changed." Laura cut through the madness with a single sentence. "Oliver, it's already too late." With that, she climbed into Paul's car. Without looking back. Inside, she apologized for dragging him into the chaos and for the punch he took.
But Paul just smiled calmly.
"Next time, call me earlier." As he dropped her off at the building, he said gently, "If Oliver shows up again, call me. No matter what time it is." She nodded with a smile, and they agreed to meet for dinner next weekend. A month later, on an ordinary night, she received a call from a landline she didn't recognize. It was Oliver. He sounded sick, coughing nonstop. "Laura, don't hang up. I just want to ask you one thing. Did you ever love me?" She didn't even glance up. No, she hung up, set the phone aside, and went back to watching her show. 2 days later, she found out from their alumni group that Oliver had been in a fire at his company arson. He was still in critical condition at the hospital. The fire had been started by Nicole. After being fired, she lost control. Dragging her sick, unstable body, Nicole had locked the office door behind her with the full intention of dying alongside Oliver. When Laura read the police report, Her heart didn't flinch. That's when it clicked. The call she had received that night, the one she'd ignored, had been from Oliver at the brink of death. What bad luck, she murmured to herself while standing outside the movie theater. Paul, who was buying their tickets, turned to her. What was that, Laura? I didn't catch it. Nothing, she replied, closing the alumni group chat and walking over to glance at his phone. Do you have the tickets? When does it start?
Yeah.
In about 30 minutes. We got plenty of time to grab your favorite milk tea. Smiling, Paul took her hand, and they headed down to the shopping level. Along the way, he bought her sweets and cute trinkets. His arms so full of bags it looked more like they'd been on a holiday shopping spree than just prepping for movie night. After the film, they walked to the parking garage. Paul handed her the keys. Can you help me open the trunk? I need to grab something. She popped the trunk, and just as she'd suspected, there were flowers, balloons, and everything ready. Paul looked visibly nervous. Laura, will you be my girlfriend? She didn't hesitate. She smiled, took his hand, and said, Of course I will. Life is long, full of twists and turns. But around each corner, if you let yourself move forward, there's always the next him.